Don't forget, ko-fi.com/stopwritingalone is a real simple way to show your support for what's going on here week after week. Hi everyone, this is Nicole Rivera and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast for writers who are looking for their writing community. I know you want to find readers for your work, but I think your first step is to connect with other writers. That's what we're going to do here in the Stop Writing Alone podcast. We'll do writing prompts and other writing group activities, discover online writing communities, learn how to find local writing groups, or how to make your own. Join us as we explore, learn, and write. Hi everyone, this is Nicole Rivera and you're listening to the Stop Writing Alone podcast. Have you checked your calendars? It's March. Welcome to March. And as funny as this is going to sound, all that ever really means to me as a writer is April is coming. So April is an enormous month in the online writing and creative community. And this is something that I learned about way back when I started blogging. And it really helped launch me in so many different directions. Every single year, there's been another thing in April that has taken me to the next step. So I wanted to run through some of the big challenges going on in April because, as I said, March is the time to start thinking about it. March is the time to start planning for it. Anytime you're going to do a month-long challenge where you're expected to show up for every single day of all 30 days, you need to set some stuff in motion. And I did do an episode probably back in October about prepping for NaNoWriMo and all of the things you need to do to sort of get your life in order to get ready for that. But today I just want to run through what are some of the great and exciting things that are going to be available to all of us coming this April so that you can sit back and think, what is it that you want to dedicate yourself to? Which community would you like to connect with? And how can you make the most of this spring's opportunity to get your writing moving, find your writing community, your new friends, or just staying connected with the writing friends that you've made and really setting yourselves up for great success this year. So I want to start off with NaPoWriMo, and that's because April is National Poetry Month. So immediately, once we hear it's National Poetry Month, we want to celebrate that. We want to recognize all of the poets that are out there in the Stop Writing Alone community and abroad. What is NaPoWriMo? Aside from being a thing that I always struggle to say, it stands for National Poetry Writing Month. And there is a website, NaPoWriMo, where you can sign up to take the challenge to write a poem every single day of the month. Now, why do I love these challenges? Not only does it sort of create a deadline for ourselves, it creates that sort of urgency to get our writing done. We kind of lose excuses for getting things done when we are inside of a challenge. I mean, this is true of any kind of challenge. If people take like an eating challenge or a weight loss challenge, we do these challenges because we know that in our minds that they are a limited amount of time so that we can sort of dive in fully knowing that, okay, it's not going to be this intense forever, but while it is, let me get the most out of it. So one of the things that I like to do with the National Poetry Month is really challenge myself to write some poetry. I don't write poetry a lot anymore. When I was younger, I did a whole bunch of poetry, but all of my poems got lost in a flood. It sounds like something out of a movie, but that's actually what happened. All of my journals, my personal journals of poetry and stories and all of this writing that I had done from high school through college, even the beginning of my teaching career, all of them were like in the same box, I guess, or something that I had sort of stored in the basement, and we had a flood. And everything got wet. I took all the books outside. I put them in my backyard. I opened them up. I hoped that they would dry out. But I had this habit of writing a poem or something on a scrap piece of paper and then transcribing them into my journal using this fountain pen that my mother gave me from my father's collection the year after he passed. Like, this is my very special pen. So I wanted all my writing to be in this using this pen, which was great and everything looked lovely, except when water hit that ink, it just drizzled away. It was all gone. That was a really, really hard moment for me. And this is going astray from the point of today's podcast, but it was also liberating to lose all of that writing, because I was one of those people that like clung to everything and, oh, I'll rewrite that someday, and just losing it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but the monks, I think it is, that make the mandalas out of sand, and they spend like hours and days creating this piece of art, and then they just let it blow away. That was something that always horrified me. It's like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I would have to take thousands of pictures of it just to preserve it. And their whole purpose is like, no, art is for the moment, and it has its time, and then it goes by. So losing all of my writing to a flood was my first experience of that, of just knowing that all of that had its time and got me through all these different teenage angst moments, and it moved along. Anyway, back to poetry. I don't do it often anymore. So I love to take these challenges to dive in and challenge myself to do that, and even to challenge myself to write different types of poetry. Either way, whether you're a poet or not a poet, this is a cool thing to check out. Even if just to read more poetry, you can head over to NaPoWriMo to sign up if you want to write, or to just keep checking in and see all of the wonderful poetry that's happening there. I really would love to hear if anybody is going to do this. The idea is that you write a poem a day, and you can share it on your own personal sort of web space and then share the links. But also, I mean, if you don't want to put things online and you just want to challenge yourself to write a poem every single day and keep it in a notebook, or send it off to a friend in an envelope, or leave it out in the world. I've heard of this where people write a little poem and then they leave it on a bus or on a light pole that someone walking by will find, little found poetry. So many different things that we can do when we're writing on smaller scales. But that is one place to find your fellow poets. So I love it. The other challenge that's going on in April, that's another one that I participated in for many years, is the blogging from A to Z challenge. Every single April, there is this community that comes together of bloggers that take each day of the week and assign it a letter. So the first day of the month, you write a blog post that is associated with the letter A. On the second, you write something with the letter B, and so on and so forth. And I believe you take off Sundays. Basically, you write every single day and not Sunday. And that'll get you your 26 letters in 26 days. So it's not a 30-day challenge. It's a 26-day challenge. But over on their website, and I'll have all the links to all of these sites on within the show notes. But it's basically, it's A-2, the word 2, TO-Z-challenge.com. And now is the time in March that you would sign up, and you would give the link to your blog or your space where you're going to share all of these posts. And also in March, a lot of people who join this blogging challenge pick a theme to write on. So you could just randomly say, oh, A, I need to write something something about, and write a post all about apples. And then the next day go and say, B, what could I write about? I'll write about that, my friend Ben. And, like just go like that and be completely random. Or you could say, I'm going to really focus in on organic food. So I'm going to write about apples on the first day. I'm going to write about berries on the second day and carrots on the third day, and so on and so forth. And that happens in March, where a lot of people declare their themes. The great thing about that is then you can really hone in on your community and see who's writing about things that are resonate with you, that are the same things that you're writing about, and you can make these really great connections with fellow bloggers, people that are showing up all the time to write within their passion. Now, I have used this back when I was writing my blog, Searching for Sustenance, which was all about food. So I've done that sort of like investigative journalism from A to Z. And then I did it later on from a more creative perspective of writing short stories and flash fiction. And the last time that I fully dedicated myself to the A to Z challenge on a personal blog, I took one of my son's alphabet books and I said, I'm going to write a sentence a day using the word from the book. And then I am going to end the month with a 26-sentence story. So it was a really interesting challenge to take a word a day and write a sentence and try to make it all together into a story. I've had other writer friends on their blogs just have a word a day, and they presented them as prompts to other writers, and then they also wrote something on it. So many different things that you can do, whether you have a specific blog that has a theme that you want to write on, or if there's something that you want to create that's more of a story, you can have fun with this. And there's a huge community that comes together every single April on that website. So I highly recommend that writing challenge. The other challenge that isn't exactly an April challenge, but it does begin in April, is one that is open to all creatives. This is not just a writing challenge. We've discussed it a number of times on this podcast, and that is the 100-day project. Now, if you'll remember, I interviewed Jenna Britton a couple of weeks ago, and she explained to us that she used the 100-day project to challenge herself to start a podcast. And so she did a little private sort of SoundCloud where she showed up every single day for 100 days and recorded a podcast episode. This is just one example of something that you can do on the 100-day project. It's a project open to all creatives who are looking to commit themselves to their craft and show up for 100 days. So again, this extends a little bit far outside of April. I believe the start date is April 7th. And then it goes on for 100 days. But again, it happens in April. And if you want to do this, it's time to start thinking about what it is that you want to do and how you want to schedule your time to do that. The website, by the way, for that is simply the 100, the number 100dayproject.org. And that is where you can go. And now, again, anytime you do something like this, you're not only committing to a challenge for yourself and your craft, but you will be immersed in a community of other people doing the same. So, of course, writers are going to challenge themselves for the 100-day project to what? You could do 100 days of poetry. You could do 100 flash fiction stories. You can create 100 writing prompts. You could do 100 days of editing. It's anything at all. The great thing about the 100-day project is that it is up to you to decide what it is you want to do. And the community there is to surround you and uplift you and motivate you and say, show up for your craft. So all of these are fantastic communities. They all have great communities that come together around them. And how you typically find them is through like a hashtag the 100-day project. If you search that right now, if you drop into Twitter or Instagram and you put in hashtag 100-day project, you're just going to see it explode with things that have been going on for the past couple of years. So it continues year after year, and now you can be a part of that community. And the same goes for NaPoWriMo and the A to Z challenge. The final April challenge that I want to speak to you about is my favorite, because it kind of can encompass all of them if you want. And that is Camp NaNoWriMo. It's time for camp again, ladies and gentlemen. So the difference between Camp NaNoWriMo and NaNoWriMo is huge. And first, let me just take one step back in case anyone is just jumping in now and doesn't know what NaNoWriMo stands for. So that's National Novel Writing Month, and it typically happens in November. And the NaNoWriMo Challenge in November is exactly that. It challenges writers to write a close to a complete novel within the 30 days of November. So the challenge in November is to write 50,000 words within 30 days. The cool and unique thing about Camp NaNoWriMo, which happens in April and then happens again in July, is that the rules are way different. It is not necessarily a novel writing challenge. It is simply a writing challenge. What are the rules? You get to decide. What do you want to do in April? What do you want to do with these 30 days? You head over to the Camp NaNoWriMo site and you set your goal. I've had fellow campers, people that I have communed with in the month of April and July, that have done the typical NaNoWriMo and said, I'm going to write 50,000 words in these 30 days, and April just makes more sense to me than November. That's great. I've had people who said, I don't want to write a novel. I want to write blog posts, so I'm going to write 25 blog posts throughout the month of April because I want to have a post for every day of the week. Excluding weekends, and that was their goal, and that was their challenge for the month. I've been with friends who wanted to do poetry, and they said, I'm going to sign up for NaPoWriMo, but I'm also going to be in a cabin in Camp NaNoWriMo where I can then gauge my my success in both, and anything that you can think of. I used Camp NaNoWriMo in one year, I used it to write a first draft of my novel. That's the novel that's out on Query. And another session of camp in July, one of the July ones, I used to do my revisions. I said, I am going to commit myself for the month of July, beginning to end, to edit and revise every single day. And on July 31st, I was in Barnes & Noble as it was closing and just like banging out my last little bits of revision before I could send the book out into Queryland. So it's really up to you. You can do anything. So you can use Camp NaNoWriMo to sort of gauge your success and what's going on in all of these other challenges, if you so wish. So it's a huge, huge month. And there's so much that can be happening with community and challenging yourself. And it always feels great, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, that we're also heading into spring and it's lighter, longer, so you just want to get things done. So I'm always highly motivated and really excited about connecting with community and rising to these challenges in the month of April. And as I was thinking about this year, I said, I'm feeling all amped again. I'm really excited and I want to make those connections. And I thought, I love Camp NaNoWriMo and what they designed on their website. They have a private cabin, which is kind of like an ongoing Twitter chat between, like, I think they max out at around 15 people, but it's great. You get this constant communication with the same 15 people throughout the month, and you'll sort of get to know each other. And then by the end of the month, you can swap out, different ways to connect with each other online so that you can stay connected. And I really, really do love that, because it is the first steps to building really great writing community. But I don't know if it's this podcast. I don't know if it's all the connections that I've been making in other communities and my own mastermind group. But it's like this year I kind of just want more. I want more than that. I want that, and then I want to see my fellow campers face to face, and I want to really commiserate over the writing, and I want to really just be there for each other for the entire month, regardless of what challenge it is we choose to take on. So I got to thinking, how can I make this happen? So all day I have been designing what I'm calling the Happy Campers Club. And it's going to be a 4-week experience in April of this year, online. You can choose to join in a private Facebook group or simply stay subscribed in an email loop where you will get access to all of the live events if you're not a Facebook person. But what I'm looking to do is every single day of the week, excluding weekends, is to show up for the Happy Campers. So regardless if you want to write poetry all month, if you want to do your revisions all month, if you have a novel you want to tackle, if you want to write personal essays, whatever it is, if it's writing and you want to commit yourself to the month of April, I want to be there for you. And so this is going to sound really, really funny. I have these pencils that I believe I got them from the Scribbler box when I was subscribed to it, which I love, by the way. The Scribbler box and the Scribbler community is really, really cool if you haven't already checked them out. But I found my pencils and I just started using them. And it's 5 pencils. And the first pencil says, on Mondays, I plot. On Tuesdays, I write. That's the second pencil. The third pencil says, on Wednesdays, I drink. On Thursdays, I edit. And the last pencil, on Fridays, I daydream. And I looked at these pencils and I was like, yeah, that's like the perfect writing week, right? If you can do all those things, if you can hit all those, you're really like well-rounded. Because you're getting your writing and you're daydreaming and you're plotting, you're doing the work of plotting and editing, but you're also doing like the little bit of self-care with the, I drink, I check in with myself, and I live a little in between. And I said, this is what I want for April. So here's what I have planned for the Happy Campers Club. We are going to have a 4-week experience where our 5 days sort of roll out like this. On Mondays, I plot. What does that mean? We're going to talk about our goals and what we have set up for the week. I'm going to have a live webinar every single Monday where we can all get together and chat. What is going on? What are we going to do? And then let's get to work to do it. Tuesday is going to be a day of write-ins, writing sprints, writing challenges. Just keep the pen moving, keep the fingers typing, whatever it is, write, or editing, whatever it is that you're doing. We're just going to schedule time to sit down and get it done. On Wednesdays, I drink. We're going to have a coffee hour where we all come together again in a live webinar to share what's going on. Where are we feeling that we need to be lifted up? Where are we feeling like we're really excited about what's happening? You know what happens when you're writing, right? There are days that you feel amazing and you're like, this is great. I can't wait to get back to the page. I want to do more. And then there are those days where you're like, this is the worst. I don't know why I'm doing this. And sometimes if you're doing that alone, it is hard to show back up. So every single Wednesday, we're going to have a check-in where we sit together, we chat together to make sure we are all ready to get back to work. Thursdays won't be a face-to-face webinar because Thursdays I edit. I'm going to just give you as many tips as I can week by week for editing and revision. So probably in the form of like PDFs or posts shared to you so that you can hang on to this for at the end of the month when you're done with your work, you're done with your drafting, you can use them to revise. Or if you are one of those people that's using the month to do your editing, you can use them in real time and feel free to ask me questions as you're going through it. I mean, that is the whole point. I'm here for you. And then on Fridays, I daydream. I figure this is about us thinking about moving forward and playing with our stories. So I will be sharing writing prompts on Fridays, which I do right now anyway, but I will sprinkle some more writing prompts specifically for the happy campers just to get us dreaming over the weekend and thinking big about what's to come next in all of our writing projects. So this is a lot of work for me, but I'm so excited about it and I can't wait to do this. And I want to know if you want to join me. So I am going to put a link in the show notes for sign up for the April Happy Campers Club. And just for this first week right now, it is going to be a flat $24.99. Like that's it. By the way, you will have a lifetime access to the Facebook group that we are going to create. You're all going to connect with each other in there, and anything that happens on the page is there for you. Anytime we have a live webinar, I will record it so that that is available to anybody that might be in a different time zone or might not be able to show up, and that will remain there for you for a lifetime. So it's like a lifetime access to all of the resources and support that happens in the group, but also a lifetime access to the group. I've joined a couple of groups like this where it's associated with a course and the course ends and I have lifetime access to the group. And you would think like, oh, what's the point of that? It has been so worthwhile for me every single time because even though the instructor sort of like disappears to move on to their next project, which, I mean, honestly, I don't foresee me doing. But even if I'm not there every single day the way I am in April, you have the entire community. It could be an animal of its own. You guys can like take it and run with it. I'm just really excited about building a community that doesn't just end in April, because that is, if I have any criticism of Camp NaNoWriMo, is that it seems like it is very hard to keep contact with my cabin mates. I have this like amazing connection with these people in the cabin, and then we share links or emails or what have you, but we all don't necessarily show up to those relative spaces in the same way that we did to the cabin. So I want to create a cabin this April that we can all show up to consistently in April and beyond. And if you're not a Facebook person and you're not feeling it, I'm going to keep everybody also on an email list for those 4 weeks so that you will get the links to the webinars and the PDFs and everything that's going on so that you can connect in that way. So it's right now $24.99. It's going to go up to $49.99 as we get to closer to April. But I think that is an amazing deal. We're talking about 30 days of nonstop connection, community, inspiration, and like I said, I'm just really, really looking forward to it. So don't leave me there alone. I want to do this so much. But again, whatever challenge you choose, I think April is going to be a big month for you. It's been so for me every single year. It's so wonderful. Whether you are writing your poetry, you're doing some other creative endeavor with the 100-day project, or the A to Z challenge is so much fun. Every year I'm thinking about what can I do for the A to Z challenge. Every year, I don't know why, I can't like shake it. So I want to say I'm going to end up doing something, but I'm going to try to resist because I have other things to do. But I really hope you guys join me. And if not, I mean, look, we connect all over the place anyway, but this would just be like real intense connection. Like, I love it. So, April is coming. Time to plan. What do you want to do with it? So many options for you, and a really cool option for us if you want to do that. And I'm excited. I'm really excited. Of course, if you have any questions about the details of what this entails and what, is it right for you or not right for you, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always open for questions and engaging in conversation. But I think this can be lots of fun. Hope to see you there. I'm so happy that you came to listen this week again. I'm in the process of getting like a lot of cool guests to come on the show, so just getting dates scheduled and working out like the technicalities of how we're going to do this. But I'm looking forward also to all of the cool voices that we're gonna have on here besides just me, that'll show you new stories about their writing journey and their connections to community and books coming out and so much goodness. So, as always, I cannot thank you enough for showing up here, for giving me a reason to show up here, because it lifts me up in so many ways. And I will talk to you again next week. One more thing, we got a new review, and I just want to give you a little background on this. This is I've talked to you a lot about how important reviews are for not just me as a podcaster, but creatives in general. If you love a book, you need to review it. You need to help the writers out there. If this is a profession that you wish to be in, you have to start to show that kind of support. So I say this every single week or close to it. And then I realized, yes, I have a mental list growing of all the reviews that I need to write, and I have not yet done it. So I was raised Roman Catholic, and while I'm not practicing to any degree that I should be recognized as such, when Lent comes around, as it did last week, you can't help but think about what's the thing I'm going to do this year for Lent. And I almost said, like, Nicole, let's be real. Like, you're not even going to church regularly. Why are you going to do Lent? But I do appreciate the idea of this 40 days and what it means for the world. Because the way I view Lent is not as a giving up, but a giving back. And so for a couple of years, I offered prayers to people that I loved. I just sort of shouted out on Facebook, anybody that needs like a prayer, let me know. And every single day of Lent, I'm going to say a specific prayer for you and your intention, and then do so every single day of the month. And I kept a list of everybody that I was saying a prayer for, so that at the end of every prayer I would reiterate their names. And it was a beautiful experience. I did it a couple of years, but again, I've been feeling detached from that, so I said that doesn't make sense for me this year. Another year I did the 40 bags in 40 days project, which is really cool, where you just take every single day, you take a bag out of your house and try to donate. But even if it's just trash, you're just like getting things out. It's kind of like a decluttering thing. And I've been doing the decluttering thing all year, so I said that doesn't make sense. And then it hit me. These reviews. I'm going to do 40 reviews in 40 days. And it's felt so good every single day to sit down and think about who's the person that I want to let them know how grateful I am for what they are. And it's kind of like a weird gratitude journal in a way. So I've been writing my reviews, and so sweetly, as a result, one of the fellow podcasters that I reviewed that I've been listening to, who's also been listening to me, was like, oh yeah, I should do that as well. So here's a review from Olga Meister, and it says, listen up. You won't find a more engaging, honest, and empathetic podcast focused on writing than Stop Writing Alone. In the emerging and rapidly growing gig economy, this podcast tackles the silent pain rarely spoken about publicly: isolation from human contact. Of course, there is plenty of instruction and learning to be had about the craft of writing, as the host of the show, Nicole Rivera, speaks from her experience and knowledge on the subject. But the beauty of this show is the connection with other souls on a similar journey. I highly recommend you give it a listen. I don't know how I just got through that without crying. Maybe because I read it earlier. But it was beautiful. And I just want to say thank you. And this is from Elliot Clifton, who has the wonderful podcast, Plain Ordinary Dragon, that speaks so to my soul, because I don't know if I've mentioned it here on this podcast, but one of the things that, now I'll get emotional. One of the things that really struck me when my mom passed away was the fact that her life on the books was ordinary. But if you asked any single person that knew her, that was not the case. My mother was the exemplar of what Eliot speaks of, this plain, ordinary dragon. And I loved when he came out with his trailer and the concept, and I was listening to it. I said, Eliot gets it. And this is something that it took me a really, really long time to get. That there is so much wonder in every single ordinary person we meet. So I highly recommend Elliot's podcast, and I think you should take a listen. But I'm also immensely grateful for this beautiful review from someone who gets it. So thank you. And guys, whether it's Stop Writing Alone or something else, do me a favor. Sometime this week, stop for a moment and write a review for something that has helped you. Because it's the simplest thing you can do. And it will mean so much more than you can imagine. Thank you. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the Stop Writing Alone podcast wherever you're listening to this episode today. Then connect with us on Facebook at Stop Writing Alone Facebook page or in the Stop Writing Alone with Nicole Rivera Facebook group. Check Instagram or Twitter where I'm @NV_Rivera to find links to our email newsletter.